here. Of course, I'm Vaughn Sigmund. I am the host today of the tab for the Alternative Board R.I.S.E series on bringing your business back from the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is the second in a series of 4 of these webinars, and this one is on inspecting your business. The first one was on reassessing your business. And today we're going to talk about a few important things, but I want to ask you all just to take a minute to think about where you are right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you? Hope everybody's good. Patty, how are you?
I'm well.
Good.
We are, faithful and continuing to believe God for all our needs, and He's providing. So my husband has a pre-existing condition of some asthma, but he's on a really good track right now. He's ended up in the hospital last October, which in retrospect was a really good thing because it changed his doctor and changed his medication, and he's been on a really good track since then. So,
well, it's good to hear. Sometimes bad things happen for a very good reason. And so I'm glad to hear you all are doing well. How's your business, Patty?
Well, I'm bringing back, I had laid off 2 people. They're both back. One part-time only because she has 4 children and school's out.
Yeah, that's a challenge a lot of employers are facing right now. It's a tough decision.
So this particular gal, I had hired her on a Monday, and she worked just 2 full days for me. And then Tuesday night was the night that the pandemic quarantine orders came down. I had to call her and say, "Oh my gosh, you're laid off," in the nicest possible way.
Well,
she got that extra $600 a week. She had worked full-time previously also. She had a lot of money in the bank, so to speak. So she actually made out really well.
When we look at that, the government, I think between the PPP money and this unemployment that they provided really got us through, and it's reflected in some of the economic numbers that are coming through. It was expensive, but glad the government did it. And hope all your employees are doing fine and their families are fine as well.
My other employee that I had laid off, she ended up moving up to Ventura area, so she's now working remotely, but it's working out fine. I have other remote workers. I've had workers out of state, Arizona and Washington. I have one currently in Northern California. So my business model can accommodate that. So
and I got to tell you, I was talking to one of my clients up in Canada this morning, and I think they had 165 people working in their office, which everybody had to go and continue remotely. They did some significant layoffs too, but the thing that we all agree, and I keep finding this from tab members and some of my training clients, is that this pandemic, looking again at the brighter side of things, it advanced the concept of working remotely by a decade in just a couple months. Right. It's gotten a lot of people much more comfortable with it, and also it's revealed to many businesses that they had too many employees, which is sad in a way, but they gotten used to a certain headcount employee base and found that they could do as much work, if not sometimes more, with less people. So there's all kinds of good things that are coming out of it, and I think that kind of goes to the next slide here is the Stockdale paradox, which is you must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. And if you're willing to inspect where we're at, which is what we're going to be talking about today, really take a honest look at where we're at, and more importantly, who we're surrounded with, who our customers are, who our vendors are, who our employees are, and take a very critical look at our strengths and our weaknesses, our opportunities, and be able to look at the future that is always going to be there for us, and understanding where we're at, where we've got to do some work, where we've got to make some tough decisions sometimes. But there is, well, as long as you have the faith that you can prevail in all this, you will. And today I'm going to ask you to literally take stock. And if you have to reboot, and in some cases we're rebooting in some of the companies I'm working in, not from a scorched earth perspective, but from a, hey, we always thought this was where we're going to go, and now all of a sudden that's not where we're going to go. Or certainly this was a priority for our business, business development or finance or human resources or employee development, some of those common elements of running a business. And that shifted in the past 3 months to where the priorities of an organization have represented themselves in a different fashion. And sometimes we have to stop, understand that we're going to have to pivot a little bit and move forward. Our next R.I.S.E webinar is going to be on strategy, how to plan for building our business and getting ourselves on track and taking advantage of what's out there. And then more importantly, once we have that plan in place, how we're going to get it executed. So, but moving on with inspection, it's been very common, this conversation, that, hey, we were doing so great. I mean, business was amazing. Everything could not have been better. And then, boom, the lights went out. And because business was so good, it prevented a lot of businesses, a lot of business owners, from really taking stock of where their opportunities were. Now, opportunities could be in a positive or a negative light. They weren't taking a hard look within the organization. And sometimes these, we were speaking earlier, that sometimes these situations, although painful as they are, force us into a situation where we can really take stock, take a hard look, take an inventory of what's really happening. Maybe there were things that we internally knew we needed to take care of, make some changes with. We were living with situations, either people or vendors or customers, that we weren't really happy with, but we're so darn busy, we don't have time to deal with it. And when we get into a crisis like this, almost every business, even the most successful ones, are forced into taking an inspection of where they stand right now, identifying the opportunities and the things that need to change internally. And that is where this global pandemic has been a bit of a bright spot in many businesses. And I've got to tell you, optimism out there is pretty significant. I am so impressed with how all the dozens of businesses I work with have taken this opportunity to move forward in sometimes the same way they were moving. Their business wasn't affected that much. Some were affected by as much as 90%, but they found ways very quickly to save money and cut costs and plan for the future. They protected their cash. They took advantage of the opportunities the government was presenting them in the way of covering their overheads. But we need to be always looking at our weaknesses and our strengths. Those two things, if we can stop periodically, and this forced us all into a hard stop, we can stop periodically and really assess ourselves. It's vitally important for us to be able to do that. And when we're forced into taking those kind of introspections, we sometimes realize that there's no time like the present to make some difficult decisions that we've been either avoiding, procrastinating, waiting for the right time to come along in order to make those decisions. And I think a lot of those decisions have already been made, but we need to also look at what the the future is going to hold for us. And taking a look around, we've got to look at some customers. And there may have been customers that, well, when things were really good, we were able to make the best of. There are certain customers that drill down on pricing or are so demanding that sometimes they're not highly profitable. And now is a great time to be able to look at those customers and really understand whether they're even worth doing business with. I got to tell you, I've had that conversation pretty often, in that they're slow to pay, they're overly demanding, the margins were already very tight. So now we may not want to be doing business with them. We may be better off doing zero business with them, although they may be a major client, because we weren't making any money off of it. And you also need to make sure you're sharpening your focus. And maybe it brings you to the point where you need to have fewer customers, ones that are more relevant, ones that have the ability to grow in the future and you can grow with them, rather than, it's a common thread that we want to go work with the biggest companies we can work with because they got the most money and they pay their bills. And that's all true. But sometimes those people are so demanding of our time and our resources that it's just not worth doing business with them. So we've got to reassess that and take a look and make sure that the customers we have are really the customers we want and the ones that are going to get us to our business and personal visions long term. And also the topic of accounts receivable has been a very, very, very frequent conversation, because some of these customers who were slow to pay have really gotten slow. And I know just this past week, I had to help out a couple of my clients have, what would have may never have happened in the way of a conversation. We had to have that conversation. People that were 200 days overdue, 180, 190 days overdue, for hundreds of thousands of dollars in accounts receivable. And if you have the conversation the right way with the right person, sometimes we're dealing with the wrong person on these sort of things. We have the right conversation with the right person, we're much more likely to be able to get that infusion of cash back into our business that we so need right now. And your customers. Do your customers believe that you're doing everything you can do to support them? Because retention of your good customers is really important now. Believe me, there's going to be a lot of your competitors out there looking to poach away clients from other businesses, and they're going to be sharpening their pencils. They're going to be coming down on prices. They're going to be upping their services. And you need to be aware that your competitors are going to be taking some steps to gain market share and gain accounts from their competitors, and that competitor may be you. So make sure that you've got that great, healthy, professional relationship with your current client base. Let's talk about revenue for a second. Very often, again, in a situation like this, we can take a look at our product offerings or our service offerings and realize that maybe there's other strategies that we've thought about in the past that the opportunity just was not right at that time. Well, that opportunity may be right now. I'm working with an architectural firm that all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense to shift their focus to tenant improvement work, because there's going to be a lot of office remodels going on. There's going to be expansion of offices. There's going to be reductions of offices. Certainly in the retail and restaurant space, there's tons of redesign work that's got to go on. And so instead of chasing the business development focus of ground up sort of construction, they're looking to shift some of their design work to a lot of their design work where the money's going to be for some period of time, which is in tenant improvement work. So just think about where your products and services are. I work with one online retailer whose business has been extraordinary during the course of this pandemic. And he realized that as he has thought about it, broadening his selection of product, well, now's the perfect time to do that because his competitors are weak. They're strapped for cash. They're having a tough time paying for their products. Their turns have slowed. His has not. He's got the cash on hand to go buy product that is going to be, in some cases, very, very attractively priced, be able to move into a new channel of business and take advantage of the opportunities that are there. There's other strategies that you should be looking at and thinking about in order to take advantage of the future. Have you had open conversations with your customers? Where are they at? We've got to make sure that the customers we're working with are going to be the customers we have in the long term. And if we're not reaching out to our current client base, customer base, and understanding where they're at from a business and profit and longevity perspective, we've got to be able to build that into our plan if it looks like some of them are on the ropes. And that we may have to go find other clients or plan for a reduction in clients for a period of time. Don't let it be a surprise is basically what I'm saying. And you should probably, if you haven't already done so, do some sales and cash projections and these are the projections that I suggest is a 25% reduction in revenue, a 50 and a 75% decrease in revenue. So that you've got a kind of a good, better, worse scenario of how you're going to be able to come out of this with a solid business in the end. And you can make the proper decisions, proper plans. And certainly I've been through this planning process dozens of times in the past few weeks. And I can tell you almost to a business, they've all been on the high side of what their projections were, but we were prepared for 75 and 80% declines in revenue and had the triggers in place to be able to make that decision. We forethought our decisions to make sure that if an 80% reduction occurred, we knew exactly what we were going to have to do. And more importantly, we knew how that was going to affect our bottom lines. So if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do that as well. And Patty, in your business, I'm sure you've had that conversation a few times. And then again, you've got to evaluate your current product, services, the markets, the client base that you're serving, and are there other markets, other services that are going to be able to present themselves as a revenue stream and a whole new channel, a whole new vertical of income for your business. The last one I want to talk, or the next to the last one I want to talk about is suppliers. This has been another great time to really look at those people who are supplying us with the basic product or services or supplies. Are they really as sharp as they should be on their pricing? Are they delivering in a way that they should? Or do we have alternative methods of acquiring some of these supplies that we need? Is it a time to renegotiate payments to help you with your own cash flow? Certainly don't expect for a minute that your vendors or your suppliers are being transparent about their financial health. I can tell you another retailer I work with, they ship about 5,000 boxes of product a week. Well, all of a sudden, one of their suppliers of boxes, the shipment didn't show up. And so they started making some phone calls. Long story short, that supplier had gone out of business. And then they had to scramble 11th hour to go find somebody else. They had to overpay for the supplies until they could find a new and a better negotiated rate for those supplies. So the moral to the story is try to understand as best you can where your suppliers are in the way of their financial health, to make sure that you're not caught last minute at the 11th hour scrambling, potentially in fact impacting your own cash flow of having to overpay for products or supplies that you need that are essential to running your business. Is this situation a great time for you to upgrade some of your suppliers? Maybe there are suppliers out there that in months or years past were overpriced, had great service, but you certainly you paid for that service. And now those folks might be a lot more negotiable. And just because they were expensive in the past or weren't right for you in the past doesn't mean that they're not right for you today. And in the end, you have your customers' backs, but do your suppliers have your back? And I do not want to speak ill of suppliers. They're going to take care of themselves, however. Their priorities, them, understandable, have contingencies. Maybe even go out and start shopping your bids around a little bit for services and see if there's not a better opportunity that all of a sudden did not exist in the past, is there and present for you now. Last, and this has been such a great topic of discussion, is our employees. It's a great time to evaluate our employees. And even though they are great value, culturally, are they providing the value that you're looking for? It's a good question. Do they do an acceptable job and not a good cultural fit? Do we have problem employees or people that we put up with through the months and the years that now's maybe a good time to make some changes? There may be an opportunity to upgrade themselves with what looks like 15 or 20% unemployment, and certainly as this gravy train of unemployment insurance or the income that's being generated for unemployment, there's going to be a dearth of great employees make themselves available over the next 30 to 45 days. I would encourage you to look around, do a solid, honest grading of your current employee base, and if you've been accepting underperformance or any problems from certain people over a long period of time, maybe a good time to have that conversation with them. Give them the ultimatum. They're going to have to get on board and behave in the way or produce in the way that you expect them to. And if not, you're going to have to move on. So you're going to have opportunities to upgrade. There's going to be lots of people looking for jobs. We went from famine to feast very quickly. We went from a 3% or below unemployment rate to one that is in the double digits now. And there's going to be some really attractive new employees out there for you. And I'm not saying change your entire employee base. Don't get me wrong with that. But if you've got one or two that you need to take a hard look at and they're creating more challenges than they're worth, let's make some decisions. You may be able to add some really good staff in the current hiring market. So that's it for today. And if any of you would like to join me for a future meeting with the alternative board, here's my next dates. I've got one on June the 19th, which is a virtual meeting. It's my group out of Long Beach. And then the week after that, on June the 26th, these are both Fridays. This is my Orange County one. That's a mixed group. We're both virtual and in person in Orange, California. And if you're interested in coming and finding out what a peer advisory board looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, love to have you. Just contact me. Again, my name is Vaughn Sigmund. That's my email address, vcsigmund@tabhuntingtonbeach.com. In 2 weeks, I'll be having another one of these webinars. The next RISE webinar will be on strategy. And we'll be talking about the elements of a strategy, how to take what you've reassessed and inspected and start turning it into the changes that you're looking for. And that'll be on June the 23rd at 9 a.m. June the 23rd at 9 a.m. I appreciate everybody joining me today. Thank you so much.